Hi there, and welcome to this free pattern tutorial where you'll learn to make what I call the Vernon Planter pot cover. This is a free pattern tutorial that for a pattern that is easily adjustable for any size pot that you're working with. This is a great stash buster project if you've got a lot of worsted or Aran weight yarn lying around. It's really fun to play around with the different stripe combinations, different color combinations, and you can really make this project your own. So let's jump into this. Let's start talking materials and tools. If you're looking for a written pattern version of this pattern, I've got the link set up in the description below. I have it available for free on Lovecrafts or Ravelry, and yeah, that might be helpful for this project. All right, let's talk tools and materials for this project. So you're gonna want some cotton, Aran, or worsted weight yarn for this. The approximate yardage for this is 186 yards or 170 meters for this project. This is a great stash buster project as well, so if you've got some extra bits of cotton lying around, this is a great project to use it for. So feel free to use whatever colors you'd like to make any stripe patterns that you would like, or even if you want to keep it solid, it's totally up to you. When it comes to hook size, I use a 4.5 millimeter hook. I am quite a tight crocheter, so if you are a little bit looser, you might want to consider going down a millimeter or two to get those really tight stitches done. We've got a tapestry needle to weave our ends in, scissors to snip those ends, our stitch marker to keep track of those rounds that we're working on, especially when it comes to working the base. And if we've got a terracotta dish here, this is going to sit at the bottom of your plant pot cover, and then that way you'll have a spot to drain, for your plants to drain without getting the plant pot cover all soggy. This one's about 6 inches in diameter, and you can use just about any size terracotta dish for that. I just picked mine up from the dollar store, nothing too fancy. And the pattern is easily adjustable to make it bigger or smaller to fit the right diameter of your terracotta. So let's get started. So for the base of the planter, I'm going to be using this sort of warm brown color, I guess you could call it. It's the color that I have the most in, so it's just what I want to use. I'm just going to keep it one solid color from the base since it's not going to be seen really. So we're going to start off with a magic ring. For that, I tend to wrap it around my fingers and create that sort of X shape there. On the top V of that X, I go under the first one, and then I'll pull that second one through. And then I'm gonna do a chain 1 in that loop. So you don't want to pull this loop tightly, you want to keep it loose like this. And that's what's going to create the magic of the magic ring. So you're going to work 6 single crochets in that loop. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once you've got the 6, with that tail that's hanging out of your magic ring, you're going to pull that tightly, and it's going to bring it all together. So for this pattern, we're just going to be working in a continuous spiral. No need to do any slip stitch to start the next round. Just makes it easier, and it's not terribly noticeable. So let's just do it that way. So for your next round, we're going to do an increase in each of those single crochets. So we've got the 6 here. So after the second round, we'll have 12. I tend to not start using my stitch marker here, just I find it's still too small of a project. So let's get going. So in that first single crochet that you did at the beginning of the round, you're gonna work 2 single crochets in that one, and that counts as an increase. Then you'll go to the next one and do 2 there. And just keep going all the way around. 4, 5, 6. If that hole in the middle starts growing a little bit, you can always grab that tail again and pull it taut. We're going to weave that in at the end, so no worries there. So after that first round, that's typically when I grab my stitch marker and I place it in to know when the end or beginning of each round happens. So that was round 2. Now we're on to round 3. We're going to do that increase round again, but we're going to do it 1 single crochet in the first stitch and then do that increase in the second one and keep going that way. So we're going to do the 1 and then 2 in the second one, and then 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we're going to keep going all the way around until we get back to that stitch marker, where you'll always finish with an increase in that stitch marker. So I'll meet you when we get over there. So we have 1 more single crochet here before that stitch marker. We're going to pull that stitch marker out for a minute. We're going to work our increase in that last stitch, and then we'll put that stitch marker back in. Now on to round 4. And with that one, we're just continuously going to be adding to this, to that sequence to make that disc that's going to be flat on the bottom. So we did 1 and then increase, 1 increase on the 3rd round. So on this round, we're going to do 2. So that's the first one on its own, second one on its own, and then on that 3rd stitch, we do the increase. So once again, you do 1, 2, increase. You can see this starting to grow, right? So let's keep going until we get back to that stitch marker, and once again we'll have the increase in the stitch marker at the end. So I just finished round 4 here with the 2 single crochet increase sequence going around, and now we're about to start round 1, 2, 3, 4. We're about to start round 5. And with that one, it's the same sequence again. It just increases by 1 every time. So we'll be working 3 single crochets and then an increase. Increase, 1, 2, 3, increase. So once again, just keep going with that sequence, and I'll meet you back when we're at the stitch marker. So we're back at the stitch marker at the end of round 5 there, where I had my 3 single crochet increase going on. You can really get a sense here of how this disc is growing here. You're just going to keep going round and round, doing that same sort of sequence, increasing or adding to your single crochets on every round. So next round I'll be doing 4 single crochets increase. Round after that I'll be doing 5, 6, etc. So keep going like that until your disc becomes the right size to fit this at the bottom of it. So I'll let you keep going with that. There is the free written pattern tutorial available on Lovecrafts and on Ravelry. I've got the links down in the description below if you want to have that written out and be able to cross off sort of which rows that you're at or whatever you need there. So I'm going to keep working this disc until it's the right size to fit my terracotta, and then we'll keep going from there. All right, so I just finished my round 10 of this base here. It's looking about, or it's looking like this rather. So this is that round that has the 8 single crochets on their own, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then increase. It does end up making a bit of a hexagon shape, but that's nothing to be too worried about. Based on my terracotta here, not quite there yet. I'm thinking maybe 2 more rounds and then we should be good to go to start working on the walls. So just keep going round. In this next round, I'm going to be working 9 single crochets and then the increase, and then for my last round working 10 and then increase. And then I think we should be good to go. Maybe 1 more after that, but we'll check in. All right, I just finished my 12th round of increases to make that base, which is looking like this. So I finished with the 10 single crochet increase, and this is looking like a good size for my terracotta. You definitely want to make it the size of the largest, or like the widest part of it. I know it's a little bit thinner on the bottom. Definitely make it for that widest part. So if we look at it this way too, it just fits, which is good, nice and snug. I don't want it to be too much bigger than the dish. Depending if your dish is wider or smaller than the one that I've got here, you might want to work more rows in the round to create the base so that it fits properly, or you could even be working less rows or rounds if your dish is smaller. So basically just gauge it with the dish that you have versus what's written in the pattern. It's just kind of a guideline that's there. This will be the easiest way to know that it'll fit nicely with the dish that you have. So next round, we're going to start working the walls, working it upwards, which will create the sides for your planter here. So I usually just keep going with the same color that I did the base with, and then we'll start working the color switches. It just makes it easier for that first round of the wall. And basically you'll be working a row of single crochets going around, but you'll be going in the back loop only. So you can see that V there that's going on in these. We're just going to work, instead of going under both, which we would do for a regular single crochet, we're going to just go to the one that's furthest away, just under that loop, and you'll pull your yarn through and make that single crochet. And you'll just keep going around like that, going in back loop only. And this will create that from going in this direction, and then it'll start going up in this direction instead. So you'll just work a row of single crochet going around, and then I'll meet you when we're back at that stitch marker. So I'm about to finish that round of single crochet back loop only. I'll take out my stitch marker and I'm gonna do the last one there. And since for the next round I'm going to be starting with another color, I'm not going to yarn over with the same color and pull through. I'm going to do that pull through with the new color so that it'll be in a position to start working with that color. So basically what I'm going to try and do in terms of a stripe pattern, I'm going to be doing something like this, where with that brown and that copper color, I'm going to be doing those 2 little stripes, and the yellow stripes in here are going to be pink instead. You can obviously do whatever kind of stripe pattern you want to do. Every row can be a different color, every few rows, whatever you would like, obviously. So when it comes to changing colors, you'll always want to start your single crochet, and then when you do that final pull through, you're going to pull through with the color that you're going to be working with next. So after that round of back loop only single crochets, I'm now just going to be doing just rounds and rounds of regular single crochet. So I'm going to do 1 round in the copper color, and then I'm going to be doing 2 rounds in this sort of corally pink color, which will give me that stripe sequence. So when we get back to the beginning of this round on the other side with the copper color, we're going to switch then to that coral pink color, and we'll keep going around, and I'll show you how I do for changing colors. So I will see you on the other side. Just working regular single crochets all the way around. So you'll see that I don't fasten off that brown color because I'm going to be using it again. Instead of fastening off and on every time, I'm just going to leave it and pick it up again. It's all going to live on the inside of our planter here. It's going to end up looking a little bit something like this. Just like this, which is fine. It's going to be living on the inside, so no one's going to see it on the outside anyways. There is going to be a bit of a seam in the back, but I mean, we can just position that against the wall with your plant in it. All right, so I'm nearing the end of my round with that copper color. I've got 3 left to go. You might notice that I'm not using the stitch marker anymore because I know when the end of the round happens, when there's a color change happening. So you're gonna work these 2 normally, and then in that last one that's in that sort of brown color, I'm gonna pull the yarn through, and I'm gonna pick up my next color here and finish that single crochet pulling that pink color through. So again, now we'll have these 2 colors hanging out in here, the copper and the brown, and I'm gonna start working the pink going around. For my stripe pattern with this, I'm gonna be doing 2 rounds in the pink. And we'll just keep going round and round. And then once we get back to the other end with the 2 stripes of pink, I will show you how I just pick up the next color from down below, which will be that brown color again. And you'll just keep working your single crochet round and round. You can start seeing a little bit better too, as the more rounds that you work, the more that it'll become noticeable. So there's that bend that happens where you did that row of back loop only single crochet. So that's what's going to create that bend that will make it going from bottom to wall going up. So I'll meet you when we're done 2 rounds of pink, and then we'll be going back to that brown color. So I'm coming up to the end of that second round of pink that I was working to create that stripe sequence that I'm looking to get. I've got 1 more here, and I'm going to be switching back to that brown color. And I just wanted to show you how I do that. So the brown is just hanging out in here right now. If I can get it. That's fine. So I'm going to have this one ready here. And like we did with the other color changes, I'm going to start the single crochet with the pink, pulling the pink through. And then I'm going to grab that brown and finish that round off. And it's just going to be pulled up from a couple rows down. Don't pull it too tightly, or else it'll make it all cinched in the back there, and it'll be a little bit awkward perhaps. But then yeah, you're good to just start your next round with that next color. So yeah, nothing too wild. You can really see that the walls are starting to form there. We can even test it out with that terracotta addition there. Fits perfectly snugly, which is nice, but not too tight that it's going to bow out at the bottom and then get thinner at the top. If that's the look that you want to do, I mean, by all means, go for it. But this is going to be working out nicely. So I'm going to keep going with this color sequence and keep working around. You can make it as tall or as short as you would like, whatever fits for your grower pot plant that you're putting on your terracotta in the dish. There is a suggested amount of rows in the written pattern, which I believe is around 22. And so yeah, of course, do more or less of that if you'd like. Have your plant handy. It's always helpful to have that, and you can always just check in every once in a while to see if the height works nicely for the plant you've got. So in the end, your plant pot cover is going to look something like this. Pretty simple, But yeah, you've got your base at the bottom here that was worked in those rounds, increasing the number of single crochets between your increases by 1 every time. You've got your back loop only row, which helps switch the direction of where the project is going. And then you've got your rows of single crochet in the round, switching colors at however many intervals you would like. The inside of it is looking like this. I've got some ends that still need to be woven in on this one, but the color switches, you can see that sequence happening there. Again, making sure to not pull it up too tightly so that it scrunches up. This still fits nice and flat. And then you've got your dish that you can stick at the bottom there. And then this will give you an idea of what it looks like with the plant in it. I've got this as an overhead shot, so it's maybe a little bit tricky, but it'll look a little something like this. Thank you so much for following along in this tutorial. I'd love to see your finished projects. If you're posting on Instagram, make sure to use the hashtag Vernon Planter cover hashtag in your caption, and feel free to tag me at @_wavelengths. I'd love to see your work and I'd love to share it as well. Stay tuned for more future free crochet projects.